I went to Gramercy again. Just saying that makes me think of one of my favorite childhood novels. In it, the protagonist returns to a country estate. I was returning to a place I once called home. It was here I once lived in a women's residence. I spent the first 5 years of my life in a community known as the Projects in the Coconut Grove section of Miami, Florida. By the time I was 6, my parents migrated 25 miles north to a neighborhood designated primarily for African Americans. But I'd never lived in a place like Gramercy. Parkside Evangeline, as our building was then called, opened in 1963. The goal back then was not entirely different from what it was when I lived there, to provide a safe and moral place for new arrivals to the city. For a little more than $800 a month, I had 3 meals a day and a dining room with polyester white tablecloths, and dime store vases with plastic flowers were on each table. An older Jamaican security guard, sometimes doorman, was an unspoken father to many of us. He once gave me a recipe for curing the symptoms of a cold: hot coffee and a bit of rum that was purchased from a convenience store on Union Square. You had to be no more than 35 years old to move in, but once you were there, you could stay forever. Or so we thought. There was a waiting list to get into this building. The most special place about Gramercy is the park. The last private park in Manhattan. Anyone living on its 4 sides could have a key. Our building had 11 keys. That I was a woman of African descent walking around one of the most posh communities in the city was not lost on me. To this day, I believe I was never racially profiled because most of the women who looked like me were nannies, housekeepers, or some aging person's companion. There's a certain kind of freedom in living like that back then. One of my most vivid memories of Parkside Evangeline was the food. 3 meals a day, cooks from the Caribbean. Some of them spoke Spanish, and they were always joking around. There was some ancient technology on every floor that the doorman, who was also the security guard, would touch. You knew he was walking the floors, making sure that everyone was safe. The only time there was danger was a fire, and I slept through it. It was below me. You'd think I'd be freaking out. I was sleeping above a fire, but I wasn't, because I knew every night someone would be walking the halls. This was after the Twin Towers fell. I think everyone should have an opportunity to live like this. It wasn't even up for debate. Guys were not permitted in your room. I remember having a very heated discussion with someone I was dating at the bistro down the street. He only came into my room once. I was working on a piece of found wood. It was enormous. I needed his help putting it on the elevator and taking it up to my room. From my window, I could see a gargoyle and the rooftop patio of a famous actor. Once I got the mail of yet another famous actor. When I returned it to her doorman, he seemed surprised. But why wouldn't I? In that moment, she felt like just another New Yorker, just like me. Gramercy provided me with that. Some don't see like